same judgment I do, right? Well, going out to pick prom dresses for my prom proved wrong. I expected my niece, who was just 2 years younger, to have some sense, some idea that prom is a formal aspect. You need to look classy. That a purple sequin tube top is not acceptable. Apparently my expectations of my niece just a little too high. Basically, expectations and where we set them on and who we set them for can be a very tricky subject. We're going to examine what happens when our expectations are set a little too high for someone, and also the equally devastating effects when they can be set just a little too low for the same group. Expectations are a tricky thing, and whenever they are set too high, we know oftentimes those people, those groups, can fall flat on their face. This can be seen through two examples. There's a recent program, Boston Public, and through Toni Morrison's novel, The Bluest Eye. Now, Boston Public is a sitcom, a dramatic sitcom, that tells the story of a public school system. And whereas oftentimes the situation is focused on the lesser students, those that cause trouble, the most recent one focused on one student in particular who excelled. And throughout his 4 years of high school education, he had been working to excel, to receive the highest honor that his high school offered. And because one soccer season he wouldn't turn in the rest of his team because they were cheating, he was denied the entire scholarship. Everything he had set himself up for, everything his parents had set him up for, everything his teachers had set him up for, was ruined because of one character flaw. The episode ends with the student committing suicide. He couldn't live up to the expectations that were set for him. Therefore, we see the devastating effects that are oftentimes far too common in real life. Also, we can see this through Toni Morrison's novel, The Bluest Eye. Now, this is a story of a young black girl who lives within the limitations of her society. Her white society that deems beauty as blonde hair and blue eyes. And as a little black girl, that beauty is genetically impossible for her. Does this mean that she will never achieve beauty? Yes, in her society's eyes, this little black girl will never be beautiful. Those expectations her society has set for her are extremely unreachable, unreal. And therefore, this little girl lives in sorrow and eventually becomes mentally deranged because she cannot obtain this expectation for her. So we can see through the examples of Boston Public and The Bluest Eye that when expectations are set too high, oftentimes those we set our expectations on fear under dire results. So if our expectations must be too high, we can certainly set them lower, right? And that'll fix things? No. They can be equally devastating when our expectations are set too low. Take, for example, Illinois standardized test scores and the recent situation of the Cubs. Now, Illinois test scores, we understand that they're standardized, and then schools reported back towards the averages where the certain school district falls within this diagram. And keep in mind, Illinois has a wide range of demographics. Only a small aspect of that is the extremely academic, high-achieving suburbs. We have extremely deprived inner city to generate in with our average. We also have the rest of the southern states. Making sweeping generalizations, we can see that oftentimes the average test score may not be the most that a school can achieve. Now, say a school gets back these test scores, and see, they do fall under the average. The average is good, right? Average is middle. Not if that school district can achieve more. If that school district can achieve more with the resources that they have, there's no reason for them to settle for that average that the school of Illinois and their standardized tests has created. So we can see here that whenever public schools accept standards, lower averages, they're cheating their students out of the education that they could possibly obtain. Now, take a lighter version of this. And if you are a die-hard Cub fan, you are at fault to lower expectations. Now, take this. Cubs managers know that you're going to show up no matter what. You're going to show up to see your Cubbies lose. So why would Don Baylor go out and pay the bigger prices to get those better hitters? Why would they go in and renovate their fields? Why would they do anything if you're going to show up anyway? Die-hard Cub fans, you are at fault for your team stinking. We can see through both die-hard Cub fans and the Illinois public school system standardized testing that lower expectations can be oftentimes devastating also. So we have seen that high expectations and low expectations can be equally devastating. And expectations in general need to be watched. We need to see how high, to what degree we place our expectations and on whom. So apparently, I was expecting a little too much from my 16-year-old niece when I asked her to go prom dress shopping with me. Didn't realize that a 16-year-old still thought purple sequins and glitter was cool. My expectations of her were a little off.